of them people, so 3 out of 100 people are what they're saying is the rich. Them top 3 pay 40% of the taxes in that area, and the rest have to pick up the other 60. So divide that up. It's like, yeah, they're paying quite a bit of taxes already. So that's where everybody don't understand that. And, oh, that's not right. That's not right. No, it's true. They're saying that the top 3% are paying 40% of the taxes in an area. You know, and it's like you're just picking up the other 60 out of a 97 people. You know.
So what happened to our 70-degree day?
So when we are the resident here, how we pay the tax here?
They take it out of your paycheck.
When the employer.
Yeah.
Employer does it. And if you are self-employed, like you run a business, if you're the only one and you're not hiring employees, then you just basically, they split the year up in 4. It depends if you're making more money. And then you just make a little report that, okay, my expenses and everything come out and I have this much money left over. Mm-hmm. And then they say your tax base is a certain percentage of that. And then you just send the check. If you're a business owner, you just send a check to
like
the
Angie
IRS.
And Gary have
like,
to pay.
Yeah, like his brother and sister. So, but if you work for somebody, they're supposed to be taking it out of your paycheck. And then you get a statement with your check showing this, how much you paid in. And then at the end of the year, we file our taxes. And if you paid in too much because of, let's say, you have children or you had more expenses, you bought a house or whatever, and you put all that on this form and say, oh, you paid in a lot more. Now they give you what you call a refund. So you can get some of that money back if you paid in. But if you didn't pay enough in, then you have to pay the extra what you owe. But most people, if they do it right, you don't have to pay in unless you're not having enough come out of your checks, or you don't pay if you're a business owner, you don't pay your quarterlies or put money in savings to pay them, to pay the money in. So that goes to help everything that the government pays for, is what that's for, City roads and infrastructure, whatever,
Infrastructure.
I know. Pay for your city workers, the people snow plowing, for us up here, your everything that deals with what we need to use, water, getting brought in from the city, to your houses or anything. So that's where your taxes go to pay all that. Police department, fire departments,
I'm gonna move my chairs.
Ambulances, they get money for that, certain things, all that stuff so that's what your taxes go to pay for. So.
Like me, if I business like I cook some stuff and I sell on online, how they get my tax?
You file for selling. You can, if you're just yourself, you basically go under what you would do with a social security number. So that's basically, you can say is I'm self-employed, and that's when you do your taxes at the end of the year. You would say self-employed, and you'd say you record all the money you brought in, and then you would say I made this much, but I bought food, I bought this is your spend. You got to keep the receipts so you can prove if you're ever asked. Okay, I spent this, I bought appliances, I bought this, and then when you're self-employed, like okay, I got to have a little office, so there's a certain percentage of if you have a room in your house that you set up as your office, you can deduct a percentage of that, and then at you're done, it says, okay, after all your expenses, now you only made this little amount. And then there's a chart that says, okay, I made this is my profit for the year, this is my personal income then, and then it gives you a rate and says you got to pay, and then you just basically, it's like, here's the address when you do your tax returns here, and you send it to the IRS, and here's my check, what I owe, and you got the paperwork. And there's a tax people that can help you with that. You hear about them if you ever look up, tax code, H&R Block, and all these different places, and they can help you do all that stuff too. So there is actually little businesses that help a person set up if they want to run a business, and tell them what way to do it. So like if somebody comes and they're like, we want to open up a restaurant. Okay, well, first of all, you got to look at all the rules and pay the fees and the permits. But if you're just working out of your kitchen, you just ask one of these tax guys, they'll tell you this. And then also, if you're selling stuff, depending on what it is, you just have to find out basically from the, like a restaurant, there would be safety things. You know, what is your cooking facility like? You might have to get a what they call it, a license. You know, business license for that, you know, because you're handling, you know, food product or whatever. Or, you know, if you're auto shop and you're repairing vehicles, you still need a business license. You just basically file it saying, okay, here's I'm running a business and this is what I do, so that they know that you're insured. Like if I built houses, I would have to have insurance to cover me if I did something wrong or something failed. You know, same thing would be when you're running a business, you have to have business insurance. And there's lots of little places that can help you out. And I always found the initial part is the accountants and the tax people are initial place to start. Plus every township in town, they have the courthouse and the zoning offices, and you just go there and they direct you where to go to. Okay, you need to go to the zoning office because you can't do this out of your house in these areas, or then okay, now you need to go to the, I can't think of what it is, but there's a place for filing for, you know, work, business license or whatever, depending on the type of job you have. So
every job we had to pay the tax, even you are the waiter.
If you're working, yeah, waiters, waitresses, like somebody comes here and you work in a restaurant, you it's all income, every money you make, and the owner keeps track of that. Even if you're the one person you open up a one person restaurant, you're doing everything by yourself. Your sole, I think what they call it is a sole proprietor. Basically, you still need, in certain business, you still need to have like the license or the permit to operate that business out of that facility. And usually it's like pay a little fee, they give you the certificate. You might be subject to the safety inspection, you know, food and drug, you know, come in, make sure that, you know, you ain't got, you know, they can randomly inspect you sometimes, you know, oh, you're not cleaning, you know, and you got nasty stuff, you know, because they want to keep people's health on that kind of thing, you know. Same thing with being in construction or anything. There's the safety issue to protect the customer. Yeah. So that's where you basically got to get, you know, license. There's jobs like if you come here and want to buy a truck and drive and haul stuff, that's little simpler. Basically, you're self-employed. You pay your little. Sometimes you have to pay your little workman's comp policy, because if you're hurt on somebody's property or whatever, you got to have that little insurance. But otherwise, now you don't. You're just you own the truck and drive it. You just pay your fees, the registration, be able to use it, and then you just fill your taxes out with the, you know. So you're on certain jobs like that, you know, like maybe a gardener that wanders around by himself with tools. He might be in the same thing. You don't really have to have a business. It's different rates of what you need to have, but your local government buildings, you know, typically like the courthouse will have the different areas, and they can direct you to where to go, or the local, you can look it up, and there's like the government, I can't think of the name, it's with labor and work and business stuff, but most accountants and like the tax places can direct you. That's where when I got it, they direct me, oh, you need to go to this person or that person, because I had H&R Block when I had my own business for a while, and they just said, okay, what do I got to do? And they just like, oh, okay, this, and it said, you know, contact this place, and I'm here and here, and then it's made the phone calls, very few fees, and I was like, okay, I'm registered to run my own business now, you know, and then just file my income reports and expense reports, you know, when needed. And if you make under a certain amount, sometimes they don't require you to pay every quarter, but it all depends. But there's people that'll direct a new person wants to start a business into that, and it's, you know, it's just a matter of following all the rules so that you don't get, you know, in trouble, you know. And then all of a sudden, oh, hey, you didn't have this, you didn't have that, or, you know, most of it too, a lot of businesses, you got to have some sort of insurance to protect yourself and your customers or whatever too. And that's a key thing that some people forget to do, and they just start working, you know, self-employed, and then all of a sudden something could happen. It may never happen, you know. Mm-hmm. And you could lose everything if something happens, and all of a sudden somebody wants to sue you. You know, you do something and it hurts somebody, or somebody gets hurt, and it all depends on the type of business you're running.
And the tax, the price of the tax is different with the states we live, right?
Different kind of what you're doing and different, like, especially when it comes to like there's little state and local taxes. Your federal tax, everybody in your income kind of pretty much stays the same where you're at, but they've got state and local taxes. Some states don't need as much money in certain areas to do the upkeep. You know, they don't have less law enforcement, maybe they have this and that, so your tax rate be a little less. You don't need as many people taking care of roads in an area. So, and in the schools, you know, there's a school tax, and when you own property, you pay that, you know, a little bit. Every property owner pays that type of tax, and in different areas it might be up and down. And that's state and local taxes that come in play there, you know. But otherwise, typically your federal tax, roughly everybody, they got the chart when you get done and you say, this is how much profit I had, or this is my net income for the year after all my expenses are out. Then they have the chart and they say, okay, you owe this much, and then that's if you paid it in payments. You either paid extra, you get a check back. So it's never like, oh, you paid too much, we're keeping it. The only time that happens is if you didn't pay taxes for a previous year and they say, you owe us yet. You know. But yeah, that's fairly simple. It's just basically is you have a tax ID or your social security number, and you're basically, once you know, and they have charts to follow, and they have a lot of computer programs that can pretty much, you put your numbers in and it knows roughly what you're going to pay, and then you know, like every month okay, I made this much, I need to put this much aside because the computer's saying I need to save this much to pay my taxes. And they can pay them like quarterly, which would be every 3 months, or depending on what you make, every year. You know, some people like to pay quarterly so they don't have to hang on to that big sum of money. And then at the end of the year, when you do your final taxes with expenses and stuff, you know, then it says, okay, you get extra money back this year or not, you know. So, but yeah, they got programs and people to help out with that. I know there's lots of help people that there's even, if you look around, I've heard there's people that have.
But I know somebody, when they be here, they don't want to pay the tax like Vietnamese. They come here, they have the nail shop, and they work. Some people they work like the part time, and they just got the money day by day, and they don't pay the tax. Yeah,
they want to work for cash and not record it. But I don't know. I know there used to be a certain amount that you can make without having to pay taxes, but it's such a small amount that they're like, you don't have to claim it if it's under this much. They always say that, but then the next person says, that's not true. If you make under so much a year, if you're just doing a little side thing, and if you're here, like me, you know, when I get to retirement age or can't work, you know, I'm going to want the Social Security and all that. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not paying taxes, I'm not putting into them programs to be able to draw mine out when I retire. I'm not putting into, you know, the different stuff that helps me out. You know, if I'm here and I'm using the roads and I'm using everything around and I'm not paying taxes, that's just like hollering, I'm not paying my fair share, but I'm using everything for free then. You know, and people don't get it. Well, I don't want to pay any more taxes than I have to. Well, nobody does. But where does the money come from to pay for the facilities that the government builds and supplies for you to live here? And if you're not paying taxes, you're a freeloader. But if you're not making a certain amount, you could pay all the taxes in, and you pretty much get everything you